Chicago has fallen to 5-5, while Minnesota is climbing back after a pretty rough 1-5 start with a 19-13 very, very ugly victory in Chicago. Now, Foles was 15 of 26 for 106 yards. That's 58%. Averaging 4.1 yards per attempt. Didn't throw a touchdown. Did throw an interception, though. Was sacked twice and had a rating of 51.1. Did get hurt late. So in comes Tyler Bray. Tyler Bray, 1 of 5, 20% for 18 yards, 3.6 average yards per attempt. Didn't throw a pick, didn't throw a score, wasn't sacked, 42.1 rating. In total, the Bears quarterbacks combined for 16 of 31, 51.6, 108 passing yards when you factor in the sack yardage totals. And only 4 yards per attempt, no touchdowns and the 1 pick, and a combined rating of 48.3. Now on the ground, couldn't really get much going there. Our good friend Cordaro Patterson, you may have, as Viking fans, you may have heard of him. 12 carries for 30 yards, 2.5 yards per carry and a long of 6. Artavis Pierce, 3 carries, 9 yards, 3 yards a carry there. Nick Foles, 1 for 2. And Ryan Nall had 1 carry, didn't gain a yard. In total, we have 17 carries here for 41 yards, 2.4 yards per attempt, which is actually below their average of attempts. Something I was not expecting. I kind of thought with Laser taking over, that was an area we might see a little bit of a spike uptick in. We did not. Receiving, 6 of 9 for Allen Robinson today, 43 yards and a long of 24. Anthony Miller, 2 of 7 for 28, averaged 14 yards a catch with a long of 21. Cordaro Patterson, 2 of 2 for 19, 9.5 yards per catch. Ryan Nall, 1 of 2 for 18. Cole Kmet, 1 of 3 for 7. Lamar Miller, 2 of 2 for 6. And then Darnell Mooney, 2 of 2 for 3 yards. That kind of shocked me. I thought he'd be more involved here. Now, they were 2 of 11 on third down. That is 18%. 0 of 1 in the red zone and kind of a push in the turnovers. They each had 2. Held the ball for 24 minutes and 10 seconds. Only 1 penalty for 5 yards, which happened on the first drive of the game, where there was a neutral zone infringement on the first 3rd and 5 Minnesota had. Now, over to Minnesota. Kirk, 25 of 36, 69.4%, 292 yards, 8.1 average yards per attempt. 2 scores, did throw a pick, was sacked once, and had a quarterback rating of 100.7. Overall, not a bad day from Kirk Cousins at all, especially considering where this game was played and Minnesota's luck there. Delvin Cook, 30 carries, 96 yards, 3.2 average yards per carry, along of 14. And those numbers were much, 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 much worse before Akeem Hicks got hurt a little bit late in that game where he pulled that hamstring. Alexander Madsen, 2 for 4. Kirk Cousins, the 1 attempt, which is the kneel down. 33 carries, 99 yards, 3.0 yards per carry. And Delvin's 14 was his longest. And Delvin didn't score a touchdown today, so I'm sure there might be some streak that was broken there. Now in the receiving game, Justin Jefferson kind of went off. 8 of 10 for 135, 16.9 yards per catch, and a 54-yard long. Kyle Rudolph, 4 of 5 for 63, 15.8 yards a catch with a 22 long. Adam Thielen, 4 of 7 for 43 yards, 10.8 average. Did score 2 touchdowns. Overall, kind of a weird day for Adam Thielen. Chad Beebe, 2 of 2 for 16. Dalvin Cook, 4 of 4 for 16. Conklin, 2 of 2 for 11. Ham caught his lone target for 8, and Johnson didn't catch his only target. Now, they were 8 of 15 on third down. That is 53%. 2 of 3 in the red zone, 67%. Like I said, kind of weird push kind of deal there with the turnovers, 2 a pop there. 35 minutes and 50 seconds time of possession. You would think this is last year with that number. 4 penalties for 35 penalty yards. Now, to actual thoughts. Overall, I thought this was a pretty good day by Kirk. I know there's that one blemish of the interception, but I don't put that on him. I think that's on Adam Thielen. I understand maybe the throw could have been a little better, but at the end of the day, Adams getting $16 million a season to catch that pass. So, and, obviously, first win on Monday night for Kirk. There was a lot of boxes that were, if you kind of went down the checklist, you kind of be like, nope, there's no way. Not with that guy. You're not going to win that game. Because you kind of look at it. Kirk Cousins didn't win a game on Monday night. They say you can't win in prime time. You can't win in Chicago just as a team. Now you put him in Chicago on a Monday night against a winning, well, technically what was a team with a winning record. There's a lot of people that would just go like, there's no chance. You have no chance. He's gonna suck up the joint. Didn't suck up the joint. He was actually kind of I won't say the brightest because you do have Jefferson, but he was certainly the reason they won the game, because basically we had a guy like Kirk and they did not. So, and I just as a whole, I would like one Chicago Bear game where we don't aimlessly see the Vikings run into Akeem Hicks. They can't move him. I was hopeful they might be able to move him, thinking maybe Eddie Goldman could sway that a little bit. He did not sway that at all. They still could not move Akeem Hicks. And even then, I'm usually not this guy, but play calling was really off today. It didn't feel right. And part of me wonders if Zimmer was kind of getting in the headset a little bit of Gary Kubiak saying, just don't mess it up. We've had a few early game turnovers. No. And maybe that was it, but yeesh. And now I'm going to talk about some Adam Thielen here. I'm thinking it's coming close to the time where Jefferson's just considered the number one. And because Thielen's had some weird drop issues, and it just feels like it's a little different this year, even though every once in a while you see the spectacular plays, kind of like you did tonight with that early touchdown catch. But the consistency doesn't seem to be there like it once was in years past. So I'm kind of wondering, is Jefferson now the lead dog here? He could be. I don't think that's a problem because Thielen can still be a great red zone target. But kind of wondering if Jefferson's the lead dog and how that may look going into the future, knowing he is older, Thielen. And I think Irv was kind of missed a lot tonight, mainly in the run blocking, because I think he is very underrated there. He is our best run blocking tight end. I think he's the best tight end on this roster as a whole. And I don't really think that's controversial at this point. I think people who have stayed around this channel know I'm not the biggest Rudolph guy. I don't hate the player. I hate that salary, but I'm not the biggest Rudolph guy. I think you might be able to get that production elsewhere for less. But I think Irv is actually good. And I think he was missed. You saw some holding penalties on the edges where maybe a better blocking tight end, Irv Smith, doesn't get those. And maybe you aren't putting your offense backwards like that. Just a thought. And speaking of that, disappointed by the lack of jumbo sets. I thought that was something they could really do to try to get some more edge runs on this team. They did not try it. I was really worried about Roquan Smith. Turns out he still flows sideline to sideline real well, and Minnesota learned that. So, don't think anyone's surprised. But, yeah. And also kind of disappointed by just the turnovers in general. Some of them were pretty bad. Like Rudolph fumbled on the first drive. You cannot start with an opening drive turnover. That's very basic. Just don't do that. And they did that. Then obviously you have the Thielen one where it looked like it was a catch. Then it wasn't a catch. And then it was a catch again, but for Khalil Mack. And you can't have those. You just can't have those. On the road, against teams typically that have offenses, you can't do that. That's a problem. And overall, though, I think the offense, it turned out to be enough, but it was super, super ugly. And that's very much in Bear Viking game fashion. It is super ugly. And the offense that does just barely enough to win the game will win the game. And defensively, I thought Wanham did some nice things tonight. Just from the edge, it was good to see some of these younger players, again, kind of look pretty decent. Troy Dye also had some pretty decent plays, also had some not so decent plays. But overall, I don't hate it. I still think the interior defensive line could be much, much, much better. And I really can't wait to see Michael Pierce next season, because that is going to be night and day. Michael Pierce is really, really good for anyone that likes line play. And if you just seen him in Baltimore, you'll know what you're getting, and it's going to be nice to see him if he's at full strength. But overall, they did pretty well, not allowing big plays. Something to credit them with, didn't allow a single point, really, since 49 seconds left in the second quarter, and even that was sparked by the interception that Khalil Mack returned all the way down. Yes, they got one first down, but then they stalled out, kicked a field goal. So you can argue the defense by itself really only allowed 3 points, especially since their one touchdown came from Cordaro Patterson running back a kick. So, yeah. And I think overall with the defense, you did what you were supposed to do. You played one of the worst offenses in the entire league. You shut them down, and you gave your offense enough chances to do enough against a really, really good defense on the road. Not horrible, did what you're supposed to do. Now, overall, very super ugly game, but like I said, that's how this game has always been, and it's probably how it always will be from the looks of it. And just points are at, they're at a minimum in these. And Minnesota really does need to trim down these mistakes, because against teams, like I said, that have better offenses than this, you cannot afford to turn the ball over like that and have those mistakes. Because if you want to look at the interception, Minnesota was driving. It was 7-3, and if Thielen holds on to that pass, it is then second and short from the Chicago 22. It ends up being a interception returned to the other side of the field practically. One chunk play, one of the few chunk plays they allowed. And all of a sudden, instead of at least 10-3, you're up by 1 point. And then obviously the kick return happened, and now all of a sudden the next time your offense touches the ball, you're down. Not ideal. And you could also kind of look up at the you can't really settle for 3 after that sudden change, because that was in plus territory. That was on Chicago's 20 when they got that when they recovered that muffed punt from Harris, and Metalis got it. But they tried early. That's a throw that they had into the end zone to Adam Thielen right there, right after, where it's like maybe that throw needed to be a little bit more to that inside. But overall, we've seen Thielen come down with catches like that, and once again, your highly paid number 1 receiver needs to come down with that play. It's a one-on-one, their best corner, it's you. It's a difficult catch, yes. However, still a catchable ball, I think. And especially for a guy that we've seen make those plays. We even saw him make one earlier in that game for a different score. So, you'd like to see him make that play. They stall out, kick a field goal, and that's just how that is. Then, like I said before, you can't have an opening drive turnover. It's very simple. Just don't start the game out like that. That leads to momentum to the other team, and then bad things can happen. So they were lucky they just exchanged turnovers in that instance. So, and then special teams had another slip up today. You have to fix the special teams. This is the second week in a row there is a disastrous play of some form on special teams. Dan Bailey kicked well when he got an opportunity to kick, except for that extra point. And that extra point was a problem, potentially, considering they won 19-13. You're one score down You're just a score and an extra point away from losing this game in a game where it didn't really feel like Chicago did anything. So that's a different kind of problem. You need to fix those because that can lose you games. Once again, if you're not playing, I guess, the Lions and an offense like Chicago's, those things can kill you. And just in the meantime, though, on the more positive side, because they did win this game, and they do keep their obscure playoff hopes alive at 4-5, going into a 3-game home stretch here, where their opponents are combined 6-22 in the Dallas Cowboys, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Carolina Panthers. Now, I would like you guys to keep in mind with how they're doing this, or more so with what they're doing it with, because they were down 3 of their top 4 corners today. Obviously, you have no best pass rusher. Danielle Hunter is obviously out for the year. Michael Pierce isn't there. He opted out. He was your big ticket free agent. Anthony Barr, he's out for the year, although I think Eric Wilson has possibly played better than Anthony Barr. But you're kind of down some players here. Like, you're even looking at Dakota Dozier, who was technically a starter from the week 1. Yes, but probably shouldn't be. Like, you have these very clear holes here. And they're winning games while they're shorthanded. So it's kind of nice to see that they're just winning games. And I think you need to credit the coaching staff for that. Now, just to finish this off, I hope Nick Foles is okay. Because sometimes those more routine-looking hits, because even that one, they were talking about maybe his back. My first initial thought was maybe that's a collarbone with the way he was slammed down like that. But these more routine-ish looking hits can sometimes be the worst ones. You can ask Bo Jackson. That one didn't really turn out well. And, as they say, Bo knows. Bo knows. So I would like to, hope he's okay, because you never like to see him getting carted off, especially when it looks like the game is pretty much over. It's like you never like to see an injury in those spots. Same thing goes to Akeem Hicks. Even though that looks like it's just a pulled hamstring. But, yeah, I would like to know your guys' thoughts, opinions, comments down below. Like and subscribe me. Super helpful. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.